Let's get the show on the road.
Out.
15 love. Love. $30-15.
Well, of course, that's a pattern of play we'll see a lot from Steph. Serve +1, big serving. Bring the weapon that is his forehand into play as often as he possibly can.
Out.
40-15.
Well, all these modern players serve well, don't they? It's a rare thing that they don't. If you get to this level in the men's game these days, you can't afford not to serve big, particularly the first one, and a solid second delivery as well. It wins a lot of points for these guys. That's composed. Wonderful choice of shot there to finish the point.
40.
Not quite enough with that one, Tsitsipas. Straight to the backhand, the strength that Wally Masur mentioned, and that's plenty of time there for a young player. Very composed.
Fold.
Some nice bite on his backhand slice. And already we've seen some good variety, good vision.
Tell you what, you don't often see developed quads in legs of a 21-year-old like Lehecka's. They are big. They look like a lot of skiing and cycling's been taking place in his young life, Robbie.
It's one of the best in the business when it comes to this combination. Very rarely lets the forehand drop. Takes it early, hits it hard, and hits it accurately.
Out.
It's always nice to get the first serve under your belt. Of course, that pattern of play that we were speaking about, the serve +1, there's not many that do it.
Fold.
And And if you're playing against Tsitsipas, part of your game plan has to be to ask yourself, how do I nullify that particular stat? Because it's a very important weapon of Tsitsipas's. If you don't address it when you play him, you'll be hurt by it. So how does Lehecka get past that? He's got a lot of work to do on his own serve as well. But we're talking when Tsitsipas serves. You can see that forehand. It's brutal. As soon as he sees it, his eyes light up, and he has the confidence to back himself.
Here's Apostolos. I saw them in the gym this morning early. Steph was going through a pretty decent workout.
Gee, I thought you meant Apostolos was pumping iron down there, was he?
Fault.
He was down there. Mark Philippoussis was down there. Steph getting prepared early. I think earlier workout, lunch, have a nap, save the energy, get ready for the evening session.
Oh, good overhead. That came out of the screws, that smash. He's got some confidence, the young fella.
15-13.
And Wally highlighted how well he comes forward. And I can tell you, folks, that out of all the players in the quarterfinals, he has come to the net the most, Wally, 138 times. And he's been successful 72% of them. Those are incredible numbers considering the opposition he had to face.
Gee, no wonder Wally's been talking him up, Robbie.
Out.
I mean, even a blind squirrel finds a nut.
You know, he's got that Austrian heritage too, Wally. You know, he's right next door to the Czechs. He's trying to claim Jiri, I think. The good thing is he can attack off his forehand or backhand. So
40-13.
he can take the short ball on the backhand, use the two-hander with accuracy, solid shot, and he can attack off that as well. So it's like a double barrel to his approach shots there.
Fault.
Juice.
Mention the fact that Lehecka had some good tennis coming into the Yayo. Played Zverev and Fritz at the United Cup. Then went across the pond to New Zealand. Qualified in Auckland, won a few matches there before losing to Cam Norrie.
Had his revenge here, though, didn't he? And you'd prefer that matchup. You'd prefer to win at the Open
Tsitsipas.
in the big one. Cam Norrie was a big scalp for him.
Beat Cam in the third round. To beat Norrie in 5 sets, you've got to have a good pair of lungs on you.
Oh, yeah.
How good was that, Wally?
Well, that's the presence of mind, isn't it? He doesn't panic, and Fitzy and I saw it in that last match. He was in trouble against Aliassime early, but he just kept his nerve. He plays with real poise, and he volleys well. He doesn't do much with the racket, uses the legs nicely through the shot.
It's certainly a sign of a good volleyer when they, like Wally says, they don't use the racket too much during the shot. It's stable, a minimum of backswing, a lot of feel with the hand. But he's under a bit of pressure here.
Deuce.
And he's proved that he can win over 5. So he's not afraid of these long matches. He's young and fit. And no fear, it seems.
Fault.
Advantage.
And that for me,
Tsitsipas.
guys, if you remember the first 2 points of this game, when he's dragged wide on the forehand, you know, a lot of guys like, because of their grip, it's a little extreme, they like the elbow tucked into the body. When he's dragged wide on the forehand, it can get a little wild. So that's 3 points on the run on that forehand he's missed.
I'd like to have that one back.
Deuce.
Just wondering if out of the corner of his eye he saw Lehecka make the move forward and then stop.
Trouble written all over that. I don't mind him coming in with that backhand, but that was just the wrong choice there to pop up a half volley across court, straight to the strength of Tsitsipas. That's a mistake.
Yeah, you want to play a drop shot, it's just got to be inch perfect. You'd almost think better bunting it back in behind him.
Another break point for Steph.
I think this is a telling game.
I was just about to ask you that.
Yeah, well, it's they all are, but you know, to get on the board early in a big match like this in front of a packed house at Rod Laver Arena. This is a quarterfinal. He's never been there before. Just to get his name on the board and take a deep breath will be beneficial.
Advantage. Tsitsipas.
He's got the pressure on early, hasn't he, Tsitsipas?
And you knew how to handle pressure to do a rocket Rod Laver front and centre. Nice to have Rod in the house, in his house.
Yeah, he owns that seat, you know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fault.
This is the first second serve that he's having a look at. What athleticism.
Tsitsipas.
And how important could that initial break be just to keep Lehecka unsettled in the context of this match, Wally?
Oh, that was really good, because that was a great play from Lehecka. He did absolutely nothing wrong, but, you know, we've spoken about the athleticism of Lehecka, but Tsitsipas, he's 6'4", 6'5", Robbie. He's a big man, but wow, he moves well and good control of the racket at full stretch. Clever shot.
First blood to Tsitsipas.
15 love.
Yeah, he's come out of the blocks here, believing he's the favourite, seeing an opportunity in this Grand Slam draw, and he wants blood. Tsitsipas, he can see that final looming, the semi, and maybe even the final, just looming in front of him.
Down.
30 love.
I'll tell you the winner of this match will play Karen Khachanov, who was a winner earlier today against Sebastian Korda, who had to retire midway through the third set with some wrist issues. And as you were suggesting, Fitzy,
40 love.
this man has got to be careful that he doesn't have an eye on the final, because he's 5-0 against the Russian.
Well, he's a pro. I'm sure he's thinking no further than this, really. She started well.
Tsitsipas.
Wow.
Well ahead.
Players are ready, thank you.
The AO average.
Swiftly.
Fold.
Love.
Made the finals of the next gen event at the tail end of last year. Actually lost twice to Brandon Nakashima. Lost him in the group stages as well as in the finals.
Out.
Gee, I thought Harold
15.
Solomon was out there for a second with a moon ball. Remember Solly made that famous years ago? You don't see that height from a Tsitsipas backhand too often.
I'm not happy at all. That is a touch of class.
Wally, I do like this kid's future.
Yeah, that's
30-15.
a good skill, isn't it? Because he is charging forward, and Tsitsipas played this inch perfectly, and look where he finished, inches from the net, and great control of the racket once again.
And even better camera work from the boys.
And it's visually good.
15.
As a tennis lover, to see that all-court style, to see the variety and the skill set that he possesses, not just at the back of the court, but to move forward, I tell you, that's great racket work and a pleasure to just see and vision.
Out.
Cain, Lehecka. Tsitsipas leads by 3-1.
I agree with Fitzy. That'll feel good. Just get your name on the board. But, you know, I think for Lehecka, I mentioned he just looked a bit untidy. And even when it comes to bunting back a big serve, just bunt it back down the middle. Just get it back. Yeah, he'll hit a winner, but that's okay. If you keep making them and really knowing where your racket face is, you'll get better as time goes by. Don't try to do too much, Lehecka.
There's more variety.
Love 15.
He's got a diverse skill set. As Lehecka, beautifully controlled. Defending with a backhand slice and controlling it with precision, low. A lot of skill.
Big servers, they want cheap points. They're used to cheap points, and that's the one you just got to throw it over. Don't try to make it too good. Just build pressure, get his best serves back.
Out.
30-15.
I could tell you, Wally, that 49% just recheck those numbers. Sorry, Wall. First serves unreturned, 39%, almost 40% for Tsitsipas. It's a good chunk of free points. It's more of the same in this game.
Wow. Okay. He's growing in front of our eyes, is Tsitsipas.
He's come to play in a big way. He leads 4-1 first set.
Tsitsipas leads by 4-1.
Wally, do you think that's Mark Philippoussis and his influence there?
Yeah, I think so. I think Flip has been talking to him about taking advantage, certainly, of the big serve or even a heavy second serve and adding that dimension into his game. But, gee, I'm with you, Fitzy. How good is this to see? I mean, we're going to see the great baseline rallies and the scrambling and the defence and the power. But, look, hey, tennis, you need contrasting styles. You need all-court tennis, and I'm really enjoying this thus far. Hey, boys, we're just talking about the sparkling effort of Djokovic last night. Tsitsipas, he watches a bit of that. Do you think he wants to come out and make a statement tonight to match that?
I think so. Absolutely, I think so. I mean, the match they had in Bercy, the Italian last year, had him on the ropes, should have beaten him, and he'll probably be feeling that he can go toe-to-toe with Djokovic. And if he puts on a good show tonight, it's more confidence to him.
Time.
Well, after seeing Novak Djokovic play last night, it was hard to believe anyone could challenge him. But if you don't challenge, you never know. And right now, you'd think that on paper, Tsitsipas, of all the players here, has the most experience and maybe the most potential right now to do that, to challenge him. And he is going to want to make a statement for sure.
Love.
Hard to get that performance of Novak's out of your mind, though, last night. That was extraordinary.
It's close to perfection on a tennis court, as you will see.
We're definitely in that zone where, with the cooler air, there's not as much life in the court. Everything's sort of chest high or low. We're not seeing any great jump.
So the ball's staying lower on the surface while they're not getting up over the shoulder.
No, not seeing a lot of that. Last night, 27, 28 degrees, definitely heavier.
And well, do these conditions then favour one player over the other?
Well, I'm just trying to work that out. Tsitsipas's forehand is so direct anyway that and he doesn't mind. He's got a pretty orthodox grip, almost an Eastern. I don't think he minds the lower ball on the forehand.
Cain, Lehecka.
Well, a little experiment there, a little experimental shot from Lehecka, leading 40 love. I'm not sure he'll come up, he'll try that on a 30-40 point or you know, more important point, but good to see him varying some of his attack.
So the challenge will be to break this guy's serve, and one thing that Steph has done extremely well over the opening 4 rounds is fend off break points. Only been broken 6 times. Loves that pattern to play with the forehand down the line. And if you get
yeah, sorry, Robbie, even off his second serve.
15 love.
Oh, there's the break point saved. I apologise, but gee, that's a big percentage. But even off the second serve, you know, we talked about him getting the forehand, the serve +1. Great second serve, hits his first forehand, puts his opponent on the defensive and finishes it with an X forehand. He misjudged that. Did he think that was going out? Because he was sort of in second gear going back to get that lob, wasn't he?
He definitely thought that lob was sailing long, but that's the cool night air, Fitzy. Everything's going to drop a little quicker than you think.
He's an old fox, Wally, you know. He thinks of all these little nuances, you know, the wind direction, the coolness of the air.
30, 15.
When he drinks a beer, he knows that temperature of the ice almost, you know. It's frozen, but he knows when it's just too cold.
And I know you've got to drink it in 3 minutes or it goes off.
I think he likes a pills. His forehand's hurting the opposition, isn't it? He's got to find a way, Lehecka. I'm not sure how right now to get it away from that forehand, but the serve is making it difficult. Great body serve, not used enough, I don't think, in the men's game, and puts Tsitsipas in a really aggressive position there.
And you can see how much net clearance he got on that forehand approach, so he's buying himself time to get close to the net for that volley.
Game, Tsitsipas.
Well, he's been ruthlessly efficient behind his...
It suits that forehand of his. New balls here. Let's see how they affect the way these two guys hit the ball.
Fold.
$15 love.
Out.
30 love.
Fold.
$30-15.
You were talking about the effectiveness of the return. Fitzy, and Tsitsipas jumping all over the second serve. He's giving it a good crack right now.
Yeah, he's come out like a man possessed here, hasn't he? Battle of the egos.
Yep, mine's bigger than yours.
30.
His forehand is huge.
That's generally been the case with me.
I always thought as much, Robbie, but there's no question Stefanos is winning the physical battle. It's just so apparent. Lehecka rushed for time.
Out.
40-30.
I love this guy's body language. As much as he's been struggling in this open set, he's still got a good attitude.
Gee, why wouldn't he? He's got the world at his feet, this lad. 21 in a quarterfinal. Let's just go after it. You know, Wally, you'd like the way Lehecka prepares, I would think. I mean, he pays tribute to a ball that's deep. So if you sat matchly to him on the side of the court, on the baseline, you'd see that when the ball is short, he'd skip inside the baseline. When it's long, he gives it respect. He skips back behind the baseline. I like a lot of things about him.
Well, I think he's just one of those rare breed of he's a powerful athlete, he's got endurance, and then obviously he's willing to work hard, so pretty good combination.
Yeah.
Let's see if Steph can serve this one out, guys.
15 love.
I must admit, I think there's a little bit of Dolph Lundgren about him too. What do you think?
I'm giving you that.
Lehecka, I'm talking about. Yeah.
Out.
30 love. $30-15.
Philippoussis front and center. Apostolos on the right. Knew how to serve and volley.
Oof.
Talk about a power game.
Out.
Yeah, this has been a convincing set of tennis.
40-15.
The dynamic duo of the serve and forehand have led him to 2 set points.
Game and first set. Tsitsipas.
Great starts for the Greek.
6-3.
He wins the opening set in 36 minutes. 6-3. It's where you want to be.
Lehecka to serve.
Set number 2.
$15 love.
Lovely early preparation.
Out.
30 love.
Just keeping a beady on Apostolos. I think I didn't like that. Was tentative. He thought, go after it, move into it. he's got high standards, hasn't he?
He's going to get an ulcer if he's not careful.
40 love.
So is he suggesting that he's got to make every ball? No errors allowed.
Well, I think Apostolos did in his day. He made every ball, so you can't expect anything less.
It's a joke how good that form is.
It is. He's developing into one of the world's best for sure.
15.
We know that, but just establishing himself more and more.
I mean, Fitzy, there's not a lot of angle to work with here, yet he's created it. He's broken the sideline comfortably.
He sort of epitomises the modern player to me, where the serve, the forehand, the athlete, 6'4", moves like the wind. And these long arms of his create so much racket head speed on that forehand.
40,
But it's such a good blend, isn't it? Because it's a very direct forehand, and then with the modern day poly in his racket, he gets enough spin. So he goes for his target. The racket provides him with enough shape. He takes everything on the rise. Pretty awesome.
Cain, Lehecka.
Out.
15 love.
I had a good chat, gentlemen, with Mark Philippoussis this morning when when I saw him, and I asked him about his serve and how it got so good. And it was very interesting. I'm sure you have heard the story. Oh, that's a lovely return. And Mark said to me, Robbie, from the age of 14, I would have to hit an hour of serves every day after practice. And in the beginning, I was always encouraged to hit the serve as hard as I can, even if I missed, just to get that racket head speed going. And when I was 14, I missed a lot. When I was 15, I missed less.
13.
By the time I was 16, 17, I was getting it very close to the lines on a regular basis. And by the time I was 18 and I'd grown and I'd filled out, I suddenly had the control.
Turned into an Adonis as well. That doesn't hurt.
And an absolute rocket of a serve, and he felt he could do anything with it.
Looks pretty relaxed, the big flipper, doesn't he?
I think that belies a fair bit of nerves, Fitzy. I think he's pretty invested.
Fold.
So I think the moral of the story is for a lot of parents out there who might have kids
40,
budding
30.
tennis professionals, don't worry too much about the now when they're young. Develop their games. You want them playing their best tennis when they're 18, not when they're 8.
Quite often it's not the young ones that are winning all the time before they develop, is it? Really good stuff. He's an all-court player.
Cain, Tsitsipas.
Sensing more and more
One
that
game all.
he wants to move forward, Tsitsipas, and that part of his game has developed beautifully over the last couple of years.
See the side spin to give him the control that he needed. All great volleyers can take pace off of the ball.
Out.
15 love.
Just the man alongside me is the inventor of the topspin forehand volley, John Fitzgerald.
Gee, you give me a lot of credit. No, it's sort of nice though, because I never get any from Wally, you know? You can come to Australia any time you want, Rob, if I would have any say.
Fold.
15 all.
I'm waiting for Wally's comeback.
He's behaving himself this evening.
Good body serve there from the youngster. He's got variety, he's thinking. Tied Tsitsipas up in knots there.
30-15.
The big Greek did well to get the ball back, but straight at the body, handcuffing him nicely. Good hands to actually get it over.
Out.
30 all.
He's got to be careful of those unforced errors now for Lehecka. He's got a dozen of those bad boys. for his coach there, Michael Laver, just standing up, encouraging him to continue to be proactive.
Any relationship to Jiri Lehecka?
Yaroslav. Jiri Lehecka.
What about Martina Navratilova? Any relation?
He's the son of Yaroslav Navratilova. Of course, used to coach Thomas Berdych.
There's some great tennis heritage there, isn't there? In that Czech Republic. Wow.
There's that sorry, guys, I was just saying, there's that forehand again, and he's just in that zone now, Lehecka, where he feels he's got to do more. He's got to do more. He's got to play above himself, and the errors, they're going to catch up with him.
Robbie, I was going to send our best wishes to Martina, and
advantage
down here this year. We wish her well, and one of the great competitors of all time. We have faith that she'll be fine.
Cain.
One of the best and nicest you will ever meet. Michael's encouraging. That is placed with perfection.
So his top-end forehand is capable, isn't it? It's just that he makes a few odd errors from it, and I don't know whether that is a technique thing. It may be, Wally, but he can hit some winners. That's a work of art, isn't it? This forehand. Just, there's been some great forehands in recent times. This is getting amongst the best, isn't it?
It's right up there.
Bit of a wrong choice there. He
15,
tries to change the direction, and you know, shot selection is so important in this sport. He made a mistake there, really, because he went for a much lower percentage choice. At this stage of the game, it becomes a little bit costly and dangerous.
Yeah, that's kissed the line.
Gee, through the air, that looked like it was going wide.
15-14.
Oh, wow. Yeah, just licked it. What a forehand that was, though.
Well, what do I know about the modern game? Here I am saying, you know, be tidy, make balls, play within yourself. He's hit a rocket ship of a forehand and now threading the needle on the backhand. So he's got courage, this young man. He's going to hit his way out of trouble.
Yep.
There's value in self-deprecation sometimes, Wally.
Thank you.
First break point of the match for the Czech.
30-14.
I can tell you that Tsitsipas has saved 36 break points out of 42 now. It's unbelievable how many he saved.
I still think you might know a little bit about the modern game, Wally, after seeing that forehand. I mean, you talked about it the other day, and at times it does just get away from him. But he's an evolving player. He's a young man learning his craft, and he's got to get on top of that little hitch that occasionally gives him some trouble. Tried to put it in his pocket.
Advantage, Lehecka.
Sometimes not a bad idea. Have a little bit of fun while you're being serious. In the pocket. Just missed.
Juice.
Just to give you some perspective, in the tournament so far, Tsitsipas has now saved 38 break points. Novak, just 9.
Fold.
Yeah, but there's an asterisk next to that. Surely at the moment, I haven't got the numbers, but surely it is harder to get to break point against Novak.
Lehecka.
That's exactly my point.
Yeah.
That's exactly my point.
Were those numbers a little skewed too? Wasn't it an outrageous break point count against Sinner? One opponent?
You're probably right if you're saving that many, Wally. Just testimony of how difficult it is to get Novak into those situations where you have a chance to break him. Oh, he's got to look at a second serve here, has Lehecka. Oh, that is so good. And that's why it's so important, Wally, to have a look at the raw data, because when I told you at the start of the match, 85% of break points saved by Steph and just 75 by Novak, it sounds very impressive, but when you take into account that Novak's had so few break points against him, just shows you.
By the way, Robbie, Mark Philippoussis was out of his chair then after that second serve and volley. He's got power, hasn't he, Wally?
Guys, you know one thing that Lehecka did really well against Aliassime was he varied his position to return. And he certainly won that little chess battle against Aliassime. So he's had 2 second serves on break points. The first one he stood up, kind of got a little jammed on the forehand. He was going into the Tsitsipas forehand, which I don't mind. And then the next one, he went way back. Tsitsipas acknowledges that and serve volleys him on the second. See what he does if he gets another chance. He's not afraid to change his court position.
Well, Tsitsipas sensing this is a little bit of a lull in his game here and a dangerous game. He wants to get through this. And sometimes you don't get too many opportunities if you're returning against a man this good. Lehecka needs to try and break through. So this may be a telling moment, really.
Tsitsipas.
Windows of opportunity can be fleeting.
Tsitsipas. 2 games all.
We'll put an asterisk alongside that game.
Just interesting watching Lehecka's forehand from side on. His contact point changes. And that's the mark of the great shots. The feet, they arrive at the same position. They find the right contact point every time.
This is what they came for.
La 15.
Are you a fan of this, Wally?
Well, I just say, did you boys ever play that shot? Ever?
Well, I didn't have the skill, I don't think, to play it, but...
No, I certainly didn't.
I thought he had time to get around and maybe hit a forehand there.
Fault.
I'll go old school. Throw up a lob, Rod.
And a high one.
Yes.
Well, I think Stefanos, he had the opportunity there just to bunt that ball down the line, but he was halfway through his swing pattern there and committed to go across court. So this drop volley is not as good as it could be. He comes in, he should have just pushed that down the line, but no, he had a big swing going on there and was committed across court. How much better of a player is this young man going to be when he leaves Melbourne, whether he wins this or not, than when he came here?
He's played a lot of good matches down under, hasn't he?
He's made a major breakthrough in a major, by the way.
Virtue.
Mentioned the fact that he played Zverev and Fritz. Remember, he beat Zverev at the United Cup. Taylor Fritz, Cameron Norrie, Chorich, Norrie again, Felix Auger-Aliassime. Now Tsitsipas for the second time. Remember, they played last year in Rotterdam. In fact, Lehecka won the opening set there before Tsitsipas launched a comeback to win 6-4, 6-2 in the second and third.
Cain. Lehecka.
So the man from Mlada Boleslav.
A finely sculptured and tanned, bronzed stallion. You're talking him up, Robbie.
I'm just picking up from where you boys started.
But he is. Look at the muscle tone there. And for a young player, I think that's very advanced. Imagine in a couple of years he's going to come back here and he may give this whole thing a nudge. Might this year, by the way.
And obviously we called that match last night, Fitzy, with Novak and the Demon, and the Demon just couldn't keep any scoreboard pressure on Novak. So big for Lehecka here. I mean, he was under the pump in that first set, but he's just finding a way to stay relevant on the scoreboard. Yep. And that's huge.
40 love.
It's the one area I'm just not. I'm not convinced about. It's the contact point changes. Like all of a sudden it gets way out in front of him, and then he's almost got to manipulate the wrist through the shot. It's just not consistent.
Yeah, well, you can't help thinking, can you? If he'd converted his forehand, like we're seeing consistently from Stefanos,
3 games all,
then it might be a slightly different story here, the scoreline.
And of course, we're talking fine margins, aren't we? And Stefanos has the ability to expose, with the strength of his forehand, to take time away and expose any little technical weakness. It's not a bad shot, but at the highest level we've seen tonight, that's the side that comes unstuck. Oh.
Yeah, you're right, sir. Just checking the numbers, Wally, of 17 unforced errors, twice as many coming from his forehand versus his backhand.
Oh, yes, sir. Very impressive. That overhead wasn't easy. It was high and deep. And when you let it bounce way back there,
15 love,
and you have to make contact near the baseline, this is not easy to put away outright. Behind the baseline, he crushes it.
Longest rally of the match, that was 17 shots.
Fold.
15 all.
Mentioned that his live ranking now is up to number 39, started the tournament ranked 71. Just 21 years of age is Jiri Lehecka.
Any idea where it'll go to if he can win this, Robbie?
Yeah, he'll be a top 30 player, 29.
Yeah.
30, 15.
Just reading a little bit about his background as well. Guys, and there's always sacrifices to be made. He had to leave home when he was 15 to go and train in Prostějov. That's where a lot of the Czech players gravitate towards. There's not a lot going on in Prostějov if you've been there. And so it's head down, sleep at the courts. They've got facilities there for the guys and girls. Well, stay on site and train with one another and be the best possible tennis player you can be.
40, 15.
Michael Navratil is from there, his coach. Travelled with Thomas Burdick for a while, was a hitting partner with TB. I mean, you talk about strong builds, what about that guy? He knew how to crush a ball, did Burdick. Lehecka's crushed that forehand to take a...
Of course, they had some champions that broke the mould.
Has a lot to do with surface sometimes too, though, doesn't it? There's plenty of indoors in Europe
Yes.
as well as the clay. In California, they play on hard court. In Florida, there's a lot of green clay.
15 love.
Well, that volley had to be deep, as well as directed well. If he dropped that ball short, his opponent might have had a chance here, but he realises that and pushes it really deep. out of reach. The nuance of that volley.
Forward.
Thirty 15.
Just straight back and boom. Nice simple technique. Highly effective.
Forty 15.
Served so well in that final set against Sinner the other evening.
Good serve into the body, but what a reaction
30.
from the young Czech. He defended that beautifully off the hip. Two hands helps there, I think. Rather solemn, isn't it?
Yeah, I know Mark's been encouraging him to hit the heavier backhand, not so much the pacey one.
I think transferring his weight a lot too, they've been working on. Not going backwards when he hits the one-hander, but transferring the weight through.
Cain, Tsitsipas.
Don't have to worry about saving any break points in that service game.
4 games all.
And Wally, you were spot on. Just went back quickly to have a look at the numbers from that Sinner match the other evening, and he faced 26 break points, saved 22. So you were right on the money.
And that is unbelievable, really, isn't it? I mean, that Sinner could generate 26 break points and break 4 times.
Yep.
We'll blame Darren Cahill for that.
I think now that coaching's more prevalent, I mean, that's a debate in itself, isn't it? Whether we all think it should be or shouldn't be used in this sport. But I don't know. I like it when we're tough on Darren Cahill, but I think the old fellow he might have won the coaching battle the other night, Wally. Certainly one of the great world coaches at the moment, Darren Cahill, and I thought he contributed heavily into turning that match around and helping his man. A few different tactics. And the momentum really changed in that Tsitsipas-Sinner match.
Well, in terms of results, it's off the charts with Darren Cahill, isn't it? Leighton Hewitt, Simona Halep, Andre Agassi.
I mean, his forehand down the line, it looks a bit flashy, but geez, had some good results with it.
Yeah, but it's red line, Fitzy. I mean, that was... does it actually clip the tape on the way through?
Yes, it did.
I mean, it's red line, and that's when the errors come.
Well, a couple of times Tsitsipas has done well, hasn't he? When Lehecka has served and volleyed as a surprise tactic, he's dipped the ball with his backhand low and caused plenty of problems there.
Beautiful shape on that shot.
Yeah.
Lehecka.
Another good hold from the Czech, and he will sit down with a 5-4
Lehecka
lead.
leads 5.
Karen Khachanov, a winner earlier against Seb Korda. The winner of this one take on the Russian.
Love.
He just never backs down, does he? Doesn't matter how good the return is. Goes to his forehand, just grips it and rips it.
Love.
Yeah, even when it's a half volley.
Yeah. Federer-esque.
Yeah.
30-15.
Uh-oh.
30 all.
That'll cause some worry lines.
Okay, so from a 30 love, cruising on serve to 30 all. 2 points away. Was the fastest serve, just 178 kilometers an hour, but adorned with all manner of side spin.
Fold.
Cain, Tsitsipas.
Okay, well, here's your chance. That forehand.
Oh, well, look, I guess he was, you know, it was lights out, wasn't it? He was Sydney or the bush, but his contact point changes. It's just interesting to watch from a technical point of view. He got right out in front of that.
Gee, Tsitsipas, though, he this whole summer, has he served well when it matters most? Yes.
Fold. Yeah.
He really has. I'm just thinking back and looking back at some of the matches he's played. That match against Dimitrov that we did at the United Cup, when he won in a deciding set tie-break there, served so well in the third and in the breaker. He's beaten Goffin, Chorich, Berrettini. I mean, how's that for preparation coming into the AO?
Let's.
Fold. Yeah.
30 love.
Well, all of a sudden, I don't know if I can put it down to the tight scoreline or just the cooler night air. It seems as though Tsitsipas, who's been getting so much easy power and swinging within himself, he was like a banshee there, just coming out of his shoes, and a couple of wild shots from him. It's almost like he wants to close this out.
40 love. Jiri Lehecka.
Well, this has been impressive, understandably so,
yes,
because it tastes good. Serving to take us into a tie break.
Out.
15 love.
Fold.
Thirty love. Forty love.
Fold. Out.
40-15.
Mark Philippoussis works on and off with Tsitsipas. That's about 8 to 15 weeks a year. That's one of his trademark shots.
Tsitsipas.
Taking the forehand early down the line and coming in.
Yeah. Well, he's got
16 all-time
versatility
record.
there. He can play it as a normal forehand, but if he has to take it on the rise and run through the approach, he can do that too. So here we go.
And just on that, boys, he really controls the racket face. It was an abbreviated swing. He absolutely knows where his racket face is throughout the course of his forehand swing. Not always the case with Lehecka.
Yeah, well said, Wally. Tie break time.
Let's seconds.
Out.
1-0. Tsitsipas.
I was just starting to think that's a rally that is evolving nicely for Lehecka. And ultimately, it was he that came up with the miss hit on the backhand wing. Tsitsipas staying strong there. But you'd think from a coaching perspective, that's a good matchup.
Let's proceed.
Tell you what, in the pantheon of great forehands, this one is right up there.
2-0.
It is right up there. Look at the setup, the racket head acceleration, the head nice and still.
In the big moments, Robbie, you want to be hitting your favourite shot, don't you? Your best shot, the most reliable one. Good signs.
Tsitsipas.
And how appropriate, Robbie. We are assuming, of course, that pantheon is a Greek word.
You know it. You know it, Wally. Can't get anything by you.
It's like having Keats up in the commentary booth, a South African Keats.
Stop it.
Oh, yeah. He's busted this tiebreaker wide open now, hasn't he?
That is as good at 4 points as you'll see. That was just... He's just moving so well, starting deep, and then anything that drops short, he's all over it.
Well,
the pivotal stages and the big points of tennis mean so much. The most important ones, and those first four were up there. This first set tiebreaker really now almost on his racket. You can see how important this tiebreaker was. The Lehecka camp all know, they know that this tiebreaker was imperative.
Tsitsipas has been outstanding in his tie breaks down under, gentlemen. He's played 5, he's only lost 1. That was the crucial one, that second set against Borna Coric. Maybe had a couple of match points. He served for it before that breaker, then ended up losing it, went down 4-1 in the third and came back to beat Borna, who had often been a thorn in his side. So you have a look at some of those wins early on in the United Cup that were huge for Steph. As I mentioned, Dimitrov 7-6 in the third. The first match he plays must have given him a massive boost, and then beating Coric in the manner that he did. Another huge mental lift. And he's taken that mental fortitude into all the tie breaks that he's played so far.
6-1.
And he's been hard to beat.
Well, he's just taken this tiebreaker and the match, by the way, by the scruff of the neck here. And he's shaking.
5 set points.
Tsitsipas.
Simply stunning from Steph.
Game and second set.
What a way to shut the gates on the second set. He is large and very much in charge now. 3 consecutive years that he's a semi-finalist and his 4th overall.
Fold. Out.
Love 15.
Just a reminder, Steph was in the Final Four here in Australia 2019, skipped it. Then it was 21 and 22. And he also made it to the semis.
Yeah.
15 all.
And who can forget that quarterfinal in 2021 when he was 2 sets to love down against Nadal. Came back to win just the second time ever in Nadal's career that he'd lost a match at a major from 2 sets to love down. And Wally, a trivia question this evening is who was the other match against when Nadal led 2 sets to love and ended up losing? And the clue is it was the other hard court major.
Feel like I actually watched that match, but my Alzheimer's has kicked in.
Brilliant. It was against an Italian.
Game Tsitsipas.
Wasn't Fabio, was it?
It certainly was.
No, Wally, it wasn't Fabio.
Easy to drift. Let the match drift away. 2 sets love down, lose belief. See what he's got.
He may have to deal with a raging Tsitsipas in this 3rd set, though. He might really try to put the foot on the accelerator here after breaking the shackles there in the 2nd. You don't know. He might react really aggressively here with his tennis and try to hit the young Czech off the court. I mean, 3 straight sets is handy at this stage of the tournament. Tsitsipas doesn't want this to drag out. He had a tough one in the previous round. He's obviously recovered well. I haven't really even thought about that, the physicality of the Sinner match. You know, he hasn't looked like he suffered in any way from that. Well, he made a wrong choice shot there, I think. It's easy in retrospect, but wrong choice. But physically, I thought, I wondered whether it might affect him a little bit. It doesn't look like it has. But if you have too many of those long 4-5 setters, they will have a cumulative effect over time for these majors, and a straight sets victory here tonight would stand him in very good stead. So he'll be looking to finish it in 3. Lehecka, like you say, we're going to find something about here.
Fold. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really only the Sinner match that went long. 4 hours for that one, Fitzy.
But that's long, isn't it?
No, it's long. It's like 2 matches, because the other match is 2 hours, 1 hour 30, 2 hours again, and then suddenly 4. So it's almost like playing an extra match, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's technically spot on. That last volley is down to the level of the ball.
He's timing the smash as well, isn't he? They're not easy, those smashes. They're high lobs, deliberately hit high by Tsitsipas. smash is coming out of the middle, and he's got some skill there.
Jiri Lehecka. 1 game over.
Running all around that ball.
Good defense, though, isn't it? We've seen it a few times from Stefanos, and there's got to be a willingness to defend. You've got to be athletic enough to defend, and then you've got to have the racket work to defend. He's got all three. Well, I would call that first pickup from Stefanos a defensive shot. And if you consider the big four in men's tennis over the last 2 decades, they've been the best defenders. It's such a power game these days, but as a consequence, defense becomes all important. And I've been pretty impressed with Tsitsipas this evening.
Got the brakes on just in time. And John Blom doing his job well there, just eyes down, checking the net. Just making sure his foot doesn't touch the net, because if it did, what would happen, Fitzy?
Well, if the ball hadn't bounced twice before he touched it, he loses the point, Robbie.
That's right.
You know, he's trying some other stuff here, Wally, in this game, isn't he? He's going after the forehand earlier. He tried a rather bizarre drop shot for something different. There's the former treasure of Australia there, next to Jane Herdlicker.
Well, he caught this ball, Fitzy, with a clean pair of hands. And you've got to remember, Josh likes his tennis.
He does.
Plays a handy game.
Josh Frydenberg, for your information there, Robbie.
Yes. Of course, good friends with Warren and Helen Jakes. I think I've met Josh with Warren and Helen on a few occasions.
Played a bit of tennis with our own John Alexander, the great J.A.
Nice.
At Parliament House.
It's just been a masterclass for the most part behind the serve.
Fold.
Cain, Tsitsipas.
Another comfortable hold from Steph.
Please.
And he leads 2-1 as to whether you would teach a youngster the bent elbow forehand or the straight elbow forehand. Do you have a preference, Wolf?
15 love.
Robbie, I'd probably start off by saying, you know, I almost prefer the more linear swing and the grip that gets away from the full Western, you know, maybe just nudging towards the semi-Western and fairly linear.
30 love.
So in that respect, the stronger the grip, the closer the elbow is into the forehand, and the more neutral the grip, the more you get that sort of Pete Sampras type effect where the arm is fully extended upon impact, a la Stefanos.
Yep. And let me throw out a couple of other names there for you that fit right into what you've suggested. You heard of Juan Martín del Potro. How big was that forehand?
Take that every day of the week on any surface.
Yep. That's very nice. Roger Federer's forehand wasn't bad either. Another one, straight arm. Fernando Verdasco, one of the biggest forehands I ever played against. Straight arm. You heard of Carlos Alcaraz? His forehand's not bad either. Straight arm. And all of them have that grip that you're talking about. So I love what you're saying, and I hope the people at home are listening to that.
Well, it puts more flexibility, I think, into the forehand, doesn't it? I mean, there's more variety, I think, with that style.
15 love.
If the grip's too strong, sometimes it's awfully good at. They're awfully good at what they do, and there's heavy spin. But just mention it after this point.
Fold.
And it probably doesn't give them quite the flexibility. So I tell you what, after watching tonight, I'd be starting by looking at a few videos of Stefanos Tsitsipas. It's be a good place to start, wouldn't it?
It's right up there. I love the way he goes after it.
40 love.
I'll tell you a forehand I was a massive fan of, and we'll get back to the match, but James Blake kept it pretty simple, but it was clean.
Yep.
Fold.
Cain, Tsitsipas.
Another speedy hold. Serves have been dominant in this third set. It's 3-2. There's 2 sets to love down here. Plenty of work to do.
He's not the only 21-year-old here making waves either, is he? How good is that to see? I love it, Robbie. You know, yes, we've had the legends. They've made history for us. But there's some fresh faces here. There's some great new athletes, some differing game styles.
Absolutely. Ben Shelton in the mix.
Oh. Yep.
30 love.
And if Brian Shelton's watching, we'll send our regards. What a nice young lad you've produced. And what a player.
Yeah, just 20 years of age is Brian. Excuse me, is Ben.
Fold.
Brian probably still looks 20 years of age.
When I saw him at the US Open, I was thinking just that. Can you believe it?
Well, he only needed to block that ball back in, didn't he? Easy to say, under the pressure of the moment. Tsitsipas was off the court and had nearly given up. Not given up, I think he was struggling to get back into the court after this last point.
But defence once again, he turns a defensive point in his favour. No tweener. And he just hit that with a little bit more loop, a little bit more height. I think our friend might have had eyes on the open court.
Do you sense that Wally doesn't like the tweener, Robbie?
I'm with Wally in that one, Fitzy.
Not into hot dogs?
Out.
40-15.
Wally, we're learning more about him, aren't we, the youngster?
He's hanging tough.
Yep.
He's got poise, that's for sure.
I'd buy shares if they were available.
Game.
Yeah, Wally's a really canny investor. Calls himself mini buff some of the times for obvious reasons.
Yeah, my crypto's going really well.
I bet he'd buy shares in this young man. He's a beauty. Yeah, I like him a lot.
Well, I think he was a penny stock perhaps before the Australian Open got underway, but he's pretty close to being blue chip. Might have missed the boat.
Very good.
Just seen a couple of mishits in the last few points. I've always found Stefanos, we've discussed forehands, I've always found his backhand interesting. It's not necessarily a strong grip. He sort of gets quite a bit of the wrist in front of the racket, and as he does for the slice. So it is unusual, but he generally makes it work.
He's fallen for the same trap that his opposition did. And he misses one serve and volley and then is upset with the box for trying to get him to do it. Amazing, isn't it?
Yep. He just mouthed a few words in the direction of his coaching team. Obviously, that's what they've been encouraging him to do, but I would encourage him to do it when you're ahead in the count.
Yeah.
Not behind. Don't put pressure on yourself. Do it at 30 love, 30-15.
Fold.
He was going again. How do you define that logic? Well, he's had a lapse here. What's he done? Serve volley twice, 3 times in a row.
Did he do that just to prove a point?
Just to spite the box?
Surely not. He was serve volley on a second.
First and second there, Wally at love 30. He's in a hole here. This might cost him a set.
Fold.
$15-14.
I wouldn't think it'd be ever easy to coach your son, Wally, at this level.
No, it's a complicated relationship, isn't it? Parent and coach. Well, folks, that's not easy. High looping ball. It's not a half volley, but it's not far from it.
I mean, that was a foot from the baseline, wasn't it, Wally?
And about a foot off the ground, and just the sweetest timed forehand you'll see.
Well, it's perfection on break points saved in this match so far. 8 out of 8 now.
Well, I think him thinking about the result a little bit, getting ahead of himself a bit, and a bit of tension caused that lapse there for 3 points in his mental application. But you can tell how much this game means to him.
Fold.
Fittingly, the 8th ace.
defensive shot, Wally.
Well, I love it. I love that part of the game as much as I like people moving forward. That's the counterpoint, isn't it? And once again, Fitzy, it's the ability to control the racket head when you're all over the shop at full stretch. And that's a great skill. Well, it's strong. This is actually him just running towards the drop shot that never came. But that was a brilliant defensive forehand.
Well, it's a subconscious art, isn't it, to know where that racket face is. To understand where the angles of it are, where the racket face is facing. Up, down, level. Is it closed? Is it open?
Advantage, Tsitsipas.
So if he gets out of jail here, which it looks like he might, Stefanos, you could just imagine him really charging towards the finish line here now.
Fold.
Cain, Tsitsipas.
Fold.
Love 50.
I don't know about you guys, but just that little subconscious mind of mine tells me.
Yep.
You too.
I'm with you.
What's it telling you?
Well, it's telling me that, you know, he got out of jail there. He saved this set. It could have been gone almost with his state of mind there for a minute. And he may just steamroll now.
Yep. You feel the break here, don't you? Especially after that first point.
Fold.
Love 13.
And, you know, in reverse, it has this effect, this negative effect sometimes on the young player down there. Had his opportunity. These fleeting moments are scarce. To break serve, he couldn't capitalise. And 2 loose points here. Good stuff, though. He's going to do well to survive here now.
13.
Fold.
That was, gee, gotta be careful there. Stefanos, did you see that, Wally? Didn't see it?
No, I was watching Lehecka.
Well, he hits the ball here back into the fence and not far from the ball boy. You've got to be careful there. That's an instant default if he hits the ball boy there.
Saw that, didn't you, at the US Open?
He's certainly antsy at the moment, Stefanos. He wants to finish this in 3 desperately.
Well, we saw that at Wimbledon too, didn't we, with Stefanos, where he fired one into the crowd against Nick Kyrgios. Hit a spectator unawares.
Lehecka.
Pretty good response from Lot 30.
It was, exactly. Lehecka was Very admirable there.
4 games all.
I'm starting to worry about your boys' subconscious, because you were both feeling the break coming.
I was.
You've got to operate at a conscious level, fellas. You can't sleepwalk through these games.
He'll turn on you. He'll turn on you real fast, Robbie.
Tell
Careful.
you what, you got to have your A game with Wally around. Fantastic hold. Give credit where credit's due.
I was with you, by the way.
But there is a feeling about this that Tsitsipas wants this match over. He wants to get into the locker room, get into that 4th semi-final here at the AO and get as much rest as he can. He doesn't want this to linger, and he's anxious about it.
Vote.
I agree. You know, the tempo's up. He's a little frustrated. He's shouting at his player's corner. And I always go back to Rafa, how his little ticks and his processes between each point, he just reset. And he'd stick to his patterns throughout, right up until the last point. Nothing changed.
40 love. Cain, Tsitsipas.
That's an impressive hold.
Tsitsipas leads 5.
Bit of frustration in that service game to go up 5-4 in the 3rd. Tattooed a couple of serves and forehands there.
Time.
Well, the Elite 8s of the Australian Open 2023 as far as the men's are concerned. Rublev, Djokovic will play tomorrow, so will Shelton and Tommy Paul. Karen Khachanov beat Sebi Korda earlier today. We await the winner of this match. He will take on Khachanov. And if it is indeed Tsitsipas, he's played Karen on 5 occasions and he's beaten him on 5 occasions.
Gee, that's telling, isn't it? But Khachanov has been sneaking through.
Oh yeah.
Not making a noise. He's there. And he's playing well.
All.
She smashes well. He's a gutsy overhead player, this guy.
30-15.
Fitzy, my old coach used to say smashing is 90% confidence, 10% technique. He just gets himself in a great position and just fires the racket with abandon.
Would that have been the great Charlie Hollis?
It was.
Coached Rod Laver by any chance? There's no room for wild abandon here.
Let's was.
Well, what a combination of shots that was. The dipper followed by the ripper.
30-14.
And a nice way to bring up a first match point.
Please. Please. Stefanos Tsitsipas.
For a third consecutive year, Stefanos Tsitsipas
6-3, 7-6.
will find himself in the semi-finals of the Australian Open. A beautiful combination of Athenian artistry and Greek grit tonight.